Well, that wasn't really a warm welcome for a cold day. We had a warm welcome for this amazing panel that we have here. Great. So this is about the evolution of banking, but really it's about the evolution of how data and the access to data has changed how people interact with their financial data. We see a lot of companies, most major financial institutions around the world say that they have a focus on improving the customer experience. And we see what that's done for companies like Apple and Amazon, right? So how do you see that impacting the financial markets in your company or in companies that you work with?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks. And thanks for joining us in the rain today. My name is Eklavya. Nice to meet you all. Thanks for mentioning Apple, great NASDAQ-ish listed company. So just a plug here. So we are very much a data-focused company. You know NASDAQ as probably the opening bell and the closing bell. You do your IPO, there's a lot of cheering, and in the background there's some kind of algorithm that allows people to buy stock, sell stock. Your retirement funds are part of that. But we're very much a data provider today, and our customers have really diversified. So we provide over 115 exchanges globally, the backbone so that they can enable trading and also track for illicit trading for the regulators. So we're very much a data play today, whereas if you look at us when we started off, it was just a cash equities exchange where you listed your stock and you had the ability to have your IPO, and then if your company got acquired, it was delisted until you were ready to get back out. So again, we've diversified our strategy and made some really great acquisitions, including Quandl, which is a Canada-based company that focuses on alternative data. So this is a marketplace for buyers and sellers of data, and it's data beyond stock price. It's data on different types of commodities. It's data on all sorts of data, agriculture data. We supply data to the Jockey Club of Hong Kong, for instance. So as you can see, there's certainly an evolution of stock, alternative data, and we're really excited at the future, what the future brings for our customers as well.
I hope, bit of luck. Yeah, so we're on. So my name's Stuart Cook. I'm at Valley Bank, listed on NASDAQ. We're thinking a lot about data and how important our customers' data is. Anyone that banks with us is trusting all of their transaction data. They're trusting all of their PII data with us. But it's the secret to unlocking the new consumer experience that you expect these days when you bank or do anything over a digital channel. And so we're very conscious that it's the new frontier for us to enable the type of experience that you want to have from a bank and from a financial services institution. And that's about changing the way that we interact with our customers, understanding what the customers' needs are, what jobs they're looking to do, and providing that in a kind of seamless and frictionless way. And it's a huge, huge challenge for banks. FinTechs are generally better at this stuff. If you want to get a really good service out of a bank, you basically have to understand how a bank works. You have to understand all the silos, why it is that the mortgage department doesn't understand what my checking stuff is. And it's because of the way that we look after our data and we think about our customers currently. So it's something that we at Valley are spending a lot of time thinking about and improving in the near future.
So I'm Jess Wooke from RobustWealth, Chief Product Officer there, and being the young FinTech startup of the group here, I can absolutely say that the comments resonate, right? That the evolution of customer experience is coming to this industry, be it banks, be it the traditional NASDAQ companies. What I look at and see, if I look across different industries, e-commerce, cable, telecom, places I've come from in my past, I see that it is about differentiating. It's about connecting with the customer and understanding their needs. Picking a target demographic or a target customer persona seems to be part of the secret sauce now. There's so much out there. There's a ton of financial services technology available today. There's startups everywhere you look, and large companies as well, working to build their own technology to stand out or to serve their target market. So it comes back to how well do you really understand your consumer, and how do you take an existing product and modify it to either fit that target customer or reach out to new ones. Amazon did a phenomenal job taking the e-commerce experience. You have a product that's available and expanding the experience so it's now available to you in 2 days or less. If you want to return it, it's hassle-free shipping, right? They're really getting that customer experience right. And that's part of what we're trying to do with our platform is understand that customer and make sure that we're delivering to them the best experience, because we know we're not alone in the marketplace, but we want to compete.
There's a pretty interesting hypothesis out there from some of the founders I've spoken to, and they say, if you're a public company, you've got a market cap. That's what Wall Street and its investors believe you're worth at that point. It's not the true enterprise value, per se, because you could be undervalued, right? The market's been down the last couple of days, so you may not be valued at what you think you're valued at. But there's the value of your data. So if you think about like a Coca-Cola, right? The data that Coca-Cola sits on, you could debate about what's more valuable. Is it the company itself or the data that they have? Imagine an airline, the consumer spend data that they have. How valuable is that? So I think those are pretty interesting factors to consider as well as you think about data and where we're evolving, as a capital markets community.
So, Jessica, you alluded to some of the customer experience things in e-commerce and other things and how rapidly that's changing, right? We've all seen tremendous change in the last 10, 15, 20 years, right? What would you say? I feel like FinTech is at the top of everyone's mind. It seems to be the topic that's out there in all the technology events. Everyone seems to be talking FinTech, FinTech, FinTech. What have you seen in the last 3 to 5 years that's been the biggest change or maybe even the biggest challenge that's now driving FinTech?
Do I have to pick just one? There's so many. All right, I'll start with one, and we'll see what my partners in crime here pick on. But I think for me, some of it's jargon. Right, I didn't come from the FinTech space, and approaching this industry, there were acronyms thrown at me and there were terms thrown around at me, and I had this moment of, oh my God, how the hell am I going to relate to my customers if I don't even understand what my coworkers and my peers are saying? So trying to cut through some of that jargon has been a big challenge. I'd say in the last 3 to 5 years, there's a movement toward relating to people on another level and just cutting through all of the crap and just getting right to, a fireside chat, having a conversation that everybody understands the terms that are being thrown around and getting to what matters, which is just, hey, I'm here to help you. I'm here to serve you. Or my technology is here to fulfill some purpose or some need for you. I don't need to throw fancy buzzwords around to show you my value. My value is in the relationship. That is going to continue, I think, over the next few years, but that's definitely been a highlight of a challenge for me is jargon.
So I've had 20 years of finteching. It wasn't called finteching when I was doing it. And the last 5-10 years, and especially in this country, so just indulge me, when I moved to the States, I moved to Silicon Valley, and I opened a bank account with one of the top 4 banks, and I wanted to set up a regular payment to my wife. And I went into branch and said, we both have an account here. I want to pay, $1,000 or whatever it is every month to pay for the, soccer practice or whatever was going on. It's called football, by the way. And they said to me,
$1,000 a month.
So
it's European football.
It's European. So they said to me, you can do a one-time payment. And I'm like, I want to set it and forget it. Well, you could do bill pay. And I'm like, I can do bill pay to pay my wife, who has an account with you, once a month. Yeah. So we set up bill pay, and actually what happens is bill pay produces a check. Right. And a check arrives in the post. And wait for it, here's the innovation. Then I pull out my mobile phone and I take a picture of the check. And I'm like, all right, guys, we've got a long way to go here. So I think the most exciting thing over the last sort of 5-10 years is the evolution of digital payments. So I was lucky enough to work on some of the early specifications for now what is Apple Pay and Samsung Pay and Android Pay. And yeah, that's like a 10-year overnight thing that we're now paying with our phones. And I'm excited to see where all that stuff goes.
I think a lot of great points have been covered. I'll tell you, this FinTech word is being thrown around a lot. A lot of companies are out there.
What does it mean?
Right. So in my view, I think it's about just taking it to the next level and certainly evolving something that exists, but also disrupting it. So truly, if you look at some of the companies that were mentioned in this conversation, not a cell phone company anymore is Apple, right? Not just about giving you music, it's really a payments company. My favorite example is Starbucks, another great NASDAQ listed company. It's not a coffee company, if you think about it. Coffee's been around for thousands of years. They're bringing different coffee experiences to your neighborhood, but it's a payments company. Frankly, you can leave your house today without your wallet and get 3 meals just relying on your cell phone.
They've
Apple,
got billions on deposit.
That's right. That's right. And with, through Starbucks. And I think when some of these payment modules are able to evolve cross-border, so I can take my Starbucks app when I land in Brazil and use that and it does a currency exchange for me, like that is really, truly compelling. That's really powerful, is when I can leave my credit card at home or if I forget something or if it's lost. So I think that's where like the true new FinTech providers will take us.
Yeah, it's almost disappointing when someone doesn't take Apple Pay, right? I don't bring my wallet with me sometimes. Well, I can't pay for this.
You've got it on your watch now. It's not just the phone either.
Right. So I come in with my phone and my watch and not my wallet, and if I have to run back out to the car, it's devastating, right? So that's what we've seen. Where do you think we're going? What's big in the next 3 to 5 years? What do you see as either the biggest thing that's in the pipeline or it's being further developed, or the biggest challenge?
So challenge is probably, I think we touched on it in the last session, is certainly privacy and protecting that.
Yeah.
So cybersecurity, so that's a great opportunity for cybersecurity companies obviously out there. We think really highly of the technologies that are out there right now, and they're going to continue evolving. Where we're going is, I think, certainly creating newer data types and having a customer base for that data type. And I think we're on the forefront of it. We're recognizing it fairly early on and providing a great venue for companies that are going to be investing in that space.
For me, in financial services, I think the most interesting things I'm seeing around behavioral economics. So this is, and as bankers, we feel like if we give people all the information, we basically puke it all over them, and then they're going to be rational actors and make the best decisions for them. I think the new stuff that we're starting to see, which is helping me understand my life goals and then teaching me the right behaviors to meet the goals that I have in my life. Some of that's now coming into financial services, I think is the right evolution for customer experience in banking.
And is that AI based in some cases?
I think so, yeah. So there's some really interesting startups out there, Digit, Chime, these types of guys. So Chime will watch your deposits coming in, work out when your payday is, and then make your pay available for you in advance of the paycheck hitting. Digit will monitor your transactions and work out how much you can afford to pay to save. All these things are about making your financial life easier.
And I think there's some companies too that are doing like a trade-off analysis, right? So if I have a monthly subscription to Spotify, right, and I'm running tight on my budget this month, I can use these technology providers to run a simulation to say, okay, well, what if I push off, my monthly subscriptions to these things? How will it affect my budget? I think it's definitely both things. I think it's data and protecting the customer's data and leveraging AI and other technology to make a better experience for your consumer at the end of the day. I know for me personally, I'm very, very busy in my personal life, and I don't want to have 10 different apps to manage all my different finances or even my life. I have probably 80 apps on my phone. I might use 10 of them daily. it's a little excessive. But how do you bring all that together, right? I think that's going to be a challenge, and especially with what I've been seeing in this industry over the last year or two is all the acquisitions and the mergers and the combinations happening between different fintech companies. So how do you then merge that technology? How do you bring all these disparate apps together so the consumer experience isn't all over the place? They don't have 10 different apps. Or at the end of the day, you're not going to want to say, okay, I'm a personal capital customer and I'm a RobustWealth customer. I have 2 different apps. Who wants that? Nobody. So figuring that out, I think, is going to be a big challenge, and all the while protecting the consumer's data and personal information.
The other thing I think that's probably 5 years out is you think about branches, you think about ATMs, then you think about telephony, then came the internet, and you got mobile, and there's people playing around with voice. It's the API economy. So you look at companies like Stripe, who basically just made it easy to acquire transactions through an API. You know, I suspect what we'll see is the kids that are starting companies in the garage at the moment are going to want to interact with financial services through an API. It's just I just want an abstraction layer. In the same way that those developers are using AWS for services, then they might well want to consume banking services in the same way.
I could echo that for sure. We've done exactly that. So we recognize, right, as we're building our platform, hey, there's really great services behind the scenes here. Why not make them available to everybody to use? So we don't have to own the front-end experience for every single one of our customers. They can own their own front-end experience and use our APIs. But we're still trying to figure out, hey, how do we partner successfully and integrate all those APIs successfully with our partners, right? We have Apex Clearing and TD Ameritrade behind the scenes. So how do you make all that happen? So to them, it's just one experience.
Right. And still not necessarily share the PII, just open up the API so you don't have the cybersecurity concern because you're not actually accessing the data.
Spot on.
Which is a business that we're into, cybersecurity. So we're got a couple minutes left here. Do you want to open it up? We'll see. Any questions? No questions for this.
We could talk about the pace of innovation. I think that was one of our other things
so
we
I had
kicked
another. I
around.
wanted to I didn't want us to run out without at least giving them a chance to ask a question if they had. But so one of the things we talked about the other day was as other competitors of all of yours, right? They have similar data, right? They come out with something that looks the same, right? How do you, or how much focus do you put on your innovation and changing the experience of the customer so that even though the data may seem the same, you're delivering it in a more unique way? What are you doing to keep the customers or to even get new customers?
Yeah, I think it's that requires an arms and legs business, right? You need humans for that at this point. Right. So we have a really amazing relationship management team that's always talking to our customers. So each NASDAQ listed company or client has somebody they can speak to, and through those conversations, we learn of the pain points. We learn of the pain points of the banks, for example, and we're able to create new data points to make sure that the IPO process is more efficient, mitigates risk, diminishes volatility in the marketplace, for instance. And that's a new tool that we created 4 years ago only. We've done IPOs for decades now, but that's something that we created 4 years ago. So that's an example of speaking with the banks and having a touch point, and requires a relationship management team to do that. So that's I think a great example of how we can stay ahead of the competition.
Sure. Jessica, do you want to?
Sure, I'll chime in because I'm going to echo you again. The relationship, I think, is the key to staying relevant, if not ahead of some of your competitors. If there are the same features out there, if it's similar technology, it might look the same, it might feel the same. But at the end of the day, if you have shitty customer service, you're done, right? It's all about that relationship and keeping people feeling like they're important, they matter. Whether they're, the chief financial officer of the company or, the person that's the individual investor, they all need to be made to feel important, and you have to respond to them in a timely manner and let them know too if there's innovative features, if there's something wrong. I can't tell you how many times I've been on the other end of the phone with a problem, and I'm caught by surprise. Nobody wants to be surprised by a problem, right? Proactive communication is always better. So amen to relationships.
Well, 20 years ago when I last worked in a retail bank, this is a new position for me, we used to benchmark ourselves against our competitors. And that's that's a race to the bottom. You know, feature parity. I mean, you need to have an eye on it, but actually, if you're going to benchmark yourself against the best customer experience that your customers have with other providers, because that's what they're expecting from you.
Yeah.
So that would be my advice.
Great. All right. We are right on time, I believe. MC? Okay. All right, we're going to step down. Thank you so much. Thank you to the
Thank you.
panel. Great.